When complementary colors are placed over each other, they cancel each other out by producing a gray. So for example, if you mix equal amounts of red and green, it will produce a grey. Now this use of color is specific to color correction in makeup. Bluish dark circles can be corrected or neutralized using an orange corrector. So on Rose, I'm going to demonstrate the use of correctors in color theory. If you have seen the previous video and made good note of color theory that I had explained before, you would know that when you see a lot of bluish tones, bluish purple tones, you need to use the opposite color to be able to neutralize it. So just to reiterate, when you see the color wheel as it is, I did mention that every opposite color across each of these colors is a color that's complementary to it, which means they look great when they are set next to each other. But if you need to neutralize something and kind of cancel the effect of this color, you need to use the opposite color over it, so layering, which is what I'm about to do on Rose. As you can see, there's a fair amount of pigmentation on her forehead, around her mouth, which is a typical occurrence in people with deeper skin tones, and even a lot of Indians, Asians, you will see this kind of a pattern. And largely what it needs is a layering of a color, so it cancels the other color to bring it back to a neutral color. Rose does have a small blue shadow, blue-purple shadow. So I'm going to use the opposite color to cancel the effect of this and bring the face back to a neutral tone. While applying it, be careful because I'm going to use an orange to cancel out the blue, because orange is the complementary color to blue. Layer the two colors over and they'll cancel each other out. So be careful because as soon as you apply it, you will see the orange as it is. But remember that a foundation will go over this to even further neutralize and bring it all back to balance. Also, in the case of a person who's as deep-skinned as Rose here, a deeper orange, a bright, pure orange is what would work. Lighter peaches and stuff like that work on people with slightly lighter skin. So they, even if they had blue, a bit of pigmentation that's blue, they'd need peach to cover up. Whereas in the case of Rose, she'll need a pure orange. So don't worry that it's looking quite evident. I'm showing it to you on half her face so you can see what it does. A thin layer of this over the bluish black pigmentation will begin to bring the skin back to a neutral tone, which is what you want before you apply a foundation. You'll find that the pigmentation typically occurs along the jaw and around the mouth as well. If you watch a lot of videos on YouTube, you will even see that people of her skin coloring may also be able to use lipsticks, which are orange or reddish orange, which also work very well. But as a makeup artist, I would recommend that you buy correctors because these are formulations that are meant for use on the skin. A thin layer of corrector is all you need. There's absolutely no need to apply a thick layer of corrector. The need for heavy application of a product only arises in extreme correction cases where the skin's texture might also need balancing. Here, a fine layer will suffice as the need is mainly to use the color to neutralize the skin and not the texture of it. Don't worry that the color is showing through right now. You'll understand when I apply the foundation that all of this will get completely neutralized and you'll see little or none of the pigmentation. You may be able to use even a sponge to do this, but I'm trying to be a little precise. You may be able to do this step even after your foundation, But the thing is, in her case, it might become too evident that I'm using an orange. Also, another thing you could do is, if you're very sure of the foundation that you're going to be using on your customer or client, you could also mix this color into the foundation. That will also bring it back to balance. And nowadays, you do have several products that are neutralizing products. They come in the form of powders, primers, foundations, and correctors. So you can choose something that's convenient for you. You don't have to do it exactly in this manner. But for years, I prefer working this manner because it goes underneath and everything's even over. Powders do a great job too. They're the last step, and once you finish the makeup and you feel that still a face needs neutralizing, you can use a powder that's also in different tones. You get lavenders, you get pinks, you get yellows, peaches. All those are corrective powders. So it's a great way to finish off your look. I prefer working with creams because I feel like they give me the flexibility of use. So if somebody needed heavy correcting and thicker layers of product, I could do that too. Rose, I'm not seeing the need to pack it on. So it's a very, very thin layer. It's not opaque. The point is to just, put the orange there so the foundation works really well over this. And it's not too much product and doesn't cake up. So these are the primary areas of concern for Rose. She doesn't have so much of a pigmentation under her eye, but still, just to bring it back to balance, just a little bit in the corner. You don't have to, it's not a formula where you have to do it under the eye, I have to do it over the lid, you have to do it on the jawline. No. Be very careful where pigmentation is occurring on the client's face, and only there, and wherever necessary, apply the concealer or corrector. That's largely where I see any kind of a pigmentation on Rose's face. Now that I have a large portion of her pigmented area covered, I'm going to bring it all back into balance by using a foundation. Now the foundation has to match Rose's skin color. It has little to do with the part that has been covered with a corrector. So let's see if this matches. So that's her foundation. All I'm going to do is work the foundation over this area, and you'll see how the entire place neutralizes to become an even tone that matches with her neck and chest.
Again, be careful not to load on the skin with the foundation either. The corrective will be covered as it was evenly applied and in a thin film. The point is to achieve balanced, natural-looking skin color and not a heavily applied base. Using a foundation product that is ideal for the situation and the client, evenly apply in a manner that not only covers up the corrector, in this case orange to cover bluish pigment, but to also seamlessly balance the skin, making it appear natural. You may use any tool of your choice to achieve this, such as a sponge, brush, or a beauty blender.
So now I've evened out the complexion. Be mindful that what you're trying to do is not match this side with this side. You need to, when you're correcting and concealing and bringing a face back into balance, you're doing it keeping in mind that the chest and the neck also may be exposed in a t-shirt or whatever it is that a client is wearing. So the point is not to match this side with this side. Here I've left this side bare so you can see what I'm doing on this side and how the corrector works to bring everything back. So in Rose's case, there was a fair amount of blue. To neutralize the blue, I used the opposite color orange, layering it over the blue to bring it back to a neutral tone. So as you can see now, a lot of her pigmentation has been taken care of. And you can use any texture. Like I said, I prefer working with creams because they're easier to demonstrate, in this case especially. but you may use any other corrective product that's available right now, powders, primers. There's several things that are available and you can use them as and when you please. I've done this largely for demonstrative purposes, and you'll see, even when she turns her face, that all of the pigmentation that you saw earlier has been covered by the orange. That's how it works in color theory. It's very important to have a good knowledge of color theory and have it packed actually, so you don't have to think very often. But with practice, you'll be able to do this without much thought. And these are the very basics. So I hope that helps.